Okay, good day again, class. So we are now in our module 3, kinds of variables. So before we go to our lesson, so let's give ourselves a round of applause for the job well done in our two modules. So you have successfully answered all of the assessment and exercises. Okay, so I hope you continue to be a good student because that's really needed, especially now we have this pandemic. So you must land a good job for you to sustain your finances, especially for your family. So you know you're aiming to help also your family today because it's really a hard time. Many employees now are being removed due to the retrenchment of the company or cost-cutting measures. Okay, I hope you valued education. So I hope you have that passion already inside of you. Okay, let's now proceed to our lesson. So kinds of variables and their uses. I think this is discussed already in your statistics and probability in grade 11. I hope you recall this. So let's have a review on this and let's determine how it is used in the field of research. Okay, let's have here our objective or competency for this module is okay. So you're expected to differentiate the kinds of variables and their uses. Okay, so I hope it's clear to you. We'll discuss these kinds of variables. Okay, I think you're familiar with this already. Okay, so let's have first a warm-up exercise. Are you ready? Okay, let's have this what I know. Okay, let's answer this. So read the following questions carefully. Choose the letter of the best answer and circle the letter of your choice. Number 1. What kind of variable is measured using two different values? A. Binary. B. Dichotomous. C. Binomial. D. All of these. Again, what kind of variable is measured using two different values? A. Binary. B. Dichotomous. C. Binomial. D. All of these. So you have 5 seconds. Okay, the correct answer is letter B. Okay, dichotomous. Okay, so I hope you got the correct answer. And number 2, students taught first aid by program instruction will achieve at a higher level than those taught first aid by the traditional method. So the independent variable in this hypothesis is A. Students. B. Level of achievement. C. Program instruction. D. Method of instruction. So you have 5 seconds to answer. Okay, you got it right. It's letter C. Program of instruction. Okay, let's go to number 3. The example in question 2, the dependent variable is A. Students. B. Level of achievement. C. Program instruction. D. Method of instruction. Okay, got it right. It's letter B. Level of achievement. Okay, number 4. A cross-sectional study is carried out to examine whether Navy personnel of higher rank have more positive coping skills than those of a lower rank. Which of the following statement is true of this study? A. The independent variable is coping and the dependent variable is low rank. B. the independent variable is rank and the dependent variable is coping skills. C. Neither variable is dependent as the searcher cannot manipulate them. D. The independent variable is coping and the dependent variable is high rank. Okay, correct answer is letter B. Okay, I hope you got the correct answer. Okay, let's go to number 5. In an experimental design, the dependent variable is A. The one that is not manipulated and in which any changes are observed. B. The one that is manipulated to observe any effects on the other. C. A measure of the extent to which personal values affect research. D. An ambiguous concept whose meaning depends on how it is defined. Okay, the correct answer is letter B. The one that is manipulated to observe any effects on the other. So I hope you got the correct answer. Okay, let's go to number 6. A variable that is presumed to cause a change in another variable is called A. Intervening variable. B. Independent variable. C. Dependent variable. D. Numerical variable. Okay, correct. It's letter B. Independent variable. Okay, number 7. What sort of data are zip code? Again, what sort of data are zip code? A. Nominal. B. Interval. C. Ratio. D. Ordinal. Okay, correct. It's letter A. Okay, number 9. In a study, effectiveness of exposing students in a classical music in reading. Exposing students in classical music is A. Dependent. B. Confounding. C. Intervening. D. Independent. Okay, correct. It's letter D. Independent. Okay, number 10. What sort of variable is dress size? A. Nominal. B. Interval. C. Ratio. D. Ordinal. Again, what sort of variable is dress size? A. Nominal. B. Interval. C. Ratio. D. Ordinal. Okay, correct. It's letter A. Nominal. Very good. Okay, number 11. A mediator or intervening variable is A. Responsible for the relationship between two other variables. B. Another name for the dependent variable. C. Another name for the independent variable. D. All of the above. Okay, correct. It's letter A. Responsible for the relationship between the two other variables. Okay, number 12. A research study on the teacher's performance, related salary increases, motivation in which turns leads to an increase in job satisfaction. What kind of variable is motivation in this study? A. Dependent. B. Intervening. C. Confounding. D. Control. Okay, correct. It's letter B. Intervening. Okay, number 13. Which of the following can be described as a nominal variable? A. Annual income. B. Age. C. Annual scale. D. geographical location. Again, which of the following can be described as a nominal variable? A. Annual income. B. Age. C. Annual sale. D. Geographical location. Okay, correct. It's letter D. Geographical location. Okay, number 14. The key defining characteristic of an experimental research is that A. The independent variable is manipulated. B. Hypotheses are proved. C. A positive correlation exists. D. Samples are large. Again, the key defining characteristic of experimental research is that the independent variable is manipulated. B. Hypotheses are proved. C. A positive correlation exists. D. Samples are large. Okay, correct. Letter A. Okay, 15. In an experiment, the group does not receive the intervention is called A. The experiment group. B. The control group. C. The participant group. D. The treatment group. Okay, correct. It's letter B. Control group. Okay, so let's give a cheer for you in answering our what I know. I hope you got a passing score. Okay, let's go now to in. So direction, study the following research cases, identify the independent and dependent variables for each of the following research cases by writing your answers on a table provided. Case 1, to determine whether a diet of blueberries have an effect on aging, an experiment involving 9-month-old rats was undertaken. In this study, one group of rats was fed with their standard diet, while the other 3 groups were fed with a diet supplemented with blueberry, strawberry, or spinach powder, respectively. After 8 weeks, the rats were given a memory test and motor skills test. Okay, so you identify the IV and DV in this case. Okay, so you submit your answers to me in my Gmail account that is shown on the screen. Okay, case 2, ascorbic acid or vitamin C, if given in mega doses, is known to reduce the occurrence of cancer cells. To test this hypothesis, patients with known cancers were given mega doses of vitamin C for 12 weeks. After 12 weeks, screening tests were done to determine the decrease of cancer cells. Okay, that is case 2. Then case 3, Lucy is an owner of a fusion accessory store. She surveyed her customers on their preferences for accessories on a headband. Thus, Lucy would stock up on ribbons because this will determine the number of headbands with ribbons that she can sell. Okay, so we have here a table. So you write your answer here in this table. So case 1, case 2, case 3. Identify the IV and DV. Okay. So let's proceed to what's new. So we have here vocabulary intensifier. So below is a spider. At the center of the spider's body is a word that you're going to describe. Okay, write your description in each leg of the spider. Then write a sentence using the word being described. So an example, we have here a dependent variable. So I want you to write the description. What is a dependent variable based on your own understanding. Okay? Then, another is the independent. Okay? So, the same process. Then, intervening variable. Okay, so we'll discuss kinds of variables and their uses. So, a variable is a characteristic of an individual or organization that can be observed and measured. It can vary among people or organizations being studied. Criswell, 2002. So it comes from the word vary or simply can change. According to Bernard, 1994, so it defines variables as something that can take more than one value, and values can be words or numbers. The most common variables in social research are age, sex, gender, education, income, marital status, and education. Other experts define a variable as any entity that can take on different values. Simply stated, anything that can vary can be considered a variable. An attribute, on the other hand, is a specific value of a variable. For instance, the variable sex has two attributes, male and female. And the variable income has an attribute of 5,000 per month, 10,000 per month, or 15,000 per month. Okay, remember, variables should have at least two attributes. It is constant. Okay, so take note of this because you will use this concept in your questionnaires. Okay, so later you will have you will make your questionnaires. I think that is in chapter 3. So about making a assessment tools. Okay, so we'll now have these four types of variables. Number 1, nominal variable. Represent categories that cannot be ordered in any particular way. An example of nominal variable, biological sex, so male or female, blood type, race, political party, then political affiliation, zip code, eye color, then religion. Then number 2, ordinal variable, represent categories that can be ordered from greatest to smallest or smallest to greatest. Examples, okay, grade level, satisfaction rating, socioeconomic status, then rank. Okay, that is ordinal from the word order. And number 3, interval variable, have values that lie along on an evenly dispersed range of numbers. Example, employees net worth, pH level, body temperature, then SAT scores. Then number 4, ratio variable, have variables that lie along the evenly dispersed range of numbers where there is an absolute zero. It possesses the properties of an interval variable and has a clear definition of zero. Okay, so openly many students are confused between these two types of variable, the interval and ratio variable. Okay, the only difference is that interval has no formal concept of absolute zero. Okay, so in ratio there is really a absolute zero concept. Okay, then examples of ratio variable, doses amount, concentration, weight, distance, reaction, pulse rate, and length. As you observe here, we are measuring here. Okay, so in ratio variables, so we measure to obtain the data. Example, in your weight, you use your weighing scale. In distance, you use meter stick and other measuring device. Okay, let's go now to kinds of variables. Number 1, independent variable, those that probably cause, influence, or affect outcomes. They are invariably called treatment, manipulated, antecedent, or predictor variables. Okay? So I think you're familiar with independent variable. So I think you encounter this in stat, okay? And in science also. Okay, examples here, a study on the relationship of parental support and academic performance of senior high school students in Nara National High School. So parental support is the independent variable because it influences the outcome of the performance of students. Okay, so don't be confused. So just remember this definition. So it is the cause of influence. Okay, independent variable. Then let's go to dependent variable. Those that depend on the independent variables. So they are the outcomes or the result of the influence of the independent variable. Okay. So I think you are not confused with this definition. Okay. So this is the variable in which we manipulate. Okay. So its value depends on the dependent. Just like in your mathematics, if you were to solve for x, okay, your x is the independent variable and y is the dependent. Okay, so similar concept. Number 3, intervening variable or mediating variable. So stand between. Okay, so remember the concept of mediating, that stand between. So the independent and dependent variables, and they show the effects of the independent variable on the dependent variable. Okay, example. We have here a variable example, cooperative learning, and the dependent variable is academic achievement of students. The intervening variable here is the student trait, for example, extrovert and introvert. Okay, so I hope you get the concept of mediating. Okay, so it is the other factors between the two variables. Okay, like for example, other example is we want to study the concept of fuel mileage of a car or the distance traveled. Okay, for example, if your dependent variable is the amount of fuel consumption and your independent is the distance. Okay, so the intervening variable there, it could be the weight of the car. Okay, because if your car is heavy, so it will consume more gasoline than those lighter ones. Okay, that's an example of intervening variable. Okay, I hope you get the concept. So if you don't get the concept, so you can have you can search Google to have your aid. Okay, then number 4, we have control variables, special type of independent variables that are measured in a study because they potentially influence on the dependent variable. So researchers use statistical procedures, analysis of covariance to control these variables. They may be demographic or personal variables that need to be controlled so that the true influence of the variable on the dependent variable can be determined in an experiment. In an experiment, it is the variable that is held constant. Okay, remember that? Okay. Example, in a study determining the effects of exposure to different colored lights on the growth of plant, the control variable are the type of plants, the amount of soil, and the amount of water given to the plants. So these variables are controlled so that the plant growth can be attributed with certainty to exposure to different colored lights. Have what's more? Direction, answer the following questions below. Okay, so this is your, again, exercises. So answer this 1 to 5. So submit this to me in my email account. So just write your answer in Microsoft Word. Okay. So those who cannot afford to have their computers, so you can write your answer on a separate sheet of paper. Okay? Is that clear? Then next, what have I learned? What I have learned. So identify the level of measurements involved in the following research situations. Use the following codes: A, nominal; B, ordinal; G, interval; D, ratio. Okay, so I think you already know this. So you answer this, okay? Again, so write your answer on a separate sheet of paper, or you can email this using the email I posted on the screen. Okay? And what can I do? So do a reflection essay, maximum of 200 words, on the kinds of variables and their uses. Write your answer on a separate sheet. Okay, so you do this activity again. Then the last is the assessment. Okay, so you answer this 1 to 15. Okay, assessment. So submit your answers to me again using the email. Okay, or spreadsheet of paper. Then additional activities: drop your research title, focusing on your field of interest, identify the different kinds of variables that can be found in your proposed study. Okay, so this is now the brainstorming of your possible topic in your research in PR2. Okay, so I want you to uh, have your interests, so you can search in Google what topic you would like to have in your research. Okay, then later on you will have your I will frame your title. Okay, up. Okay, you have no questions, so thank you and bye bye.